Hi everyone, welcome back to my educational channel on biology. Teacher Janet here. In this video, we'll discuss certain health issues related to the digestive system. Now, one of the health issues related to the digestive system is obesity, right? So we're going to discuss the effects of modifying the digestive organ like the stomach and how it helps patients who are obese to lose weight. So we'll discuss the gastric bypass surgery. And the second health issue is related to constipation and colon cancer. So we're going to discuss the role of fiber in promoting defecation and preventing constipation and other health issues or health problems. Let's begin. The learning standards are as follows. 9.7 Health issues related to the digestive system and eating habits. Number 1, we should be able to predict the effects of modifying digestive organs on human health. That means the effects of the gastric bypass surgery, okay, on human health. The positive effects and also the side effects that are not so good. Now, number 2, outline and discuss health issues related to defecation. So, example is constipation, all right, that can occur, which is the difficulty in passing the stools out of the body. So, we're going to talk about the functions of fiber. Now, the third one is for the next video. Correlate or discuss health issues that are related to eating habits, such as anorexia nervosa, bulimia, and so forth. Okay, so stay tuned also for the next video. So here's the concept map for Chapter 9, Nutrition and the Human Digestive System. We have already discussed the digestive system and also balanced diet. Okay, so next we're going on to the last part, which is health issues related to the digestive system and eating habits. Now, there'll be 2 videos on this. The first video is on the effects of modifying digestive organs on human health, especially in the gastric bypass operation or surgery. Okay, and then health issues related to defecation. So we'll be discussing the role of fiber in helping defecation to occur. Now, the last one, health issues related to eating habits. This will be discussed in the next video. There are 2 parts to this video. The first part is A, modification of digestive organs, such as the stomach. All right, so we're going to talk about the gastric bypass, which is carried out on individuals who are obese, and it can help them to lose weight. Nine point seven Health issues related to the digestive system and eating habits. So firstly, we are going to discuss the health issues related to the digestive system, and we are going to discuss modification or adaptation of digestive organs such as the stomach through the gastric bypass surgery. Okay, now this gastric bypass surgery is carried out on patients who are obese. So firstly, what is obesity? It is the excessive fat accumulation that harms health, when there is excessive fat accumulation in a person. All right, as seen in this picture here of this person who is obese. So a person with body mass index or BMI over 30 equals or over 30 is considered obese. Now, what is body mass index or BMI? There's an equation for it. BMI equals to the body weight in kilograms divided by the height squared in meters. Okay, for example, if a person has a body weight of 50 kg and the height is 1.6 meters, then BMI will be 50 kg divided by 1.6 squared, right, in meters. So we'll discuss more about BMI in the next video. So obesity is a health issue on the rise throughout the world. So what is the treatment for obesity? First, doctor or nutritionist will recommend a diet or ask the person to go on a diet. So there's diet management. For example, the intake of carbohydrates and fats are reduced. Okay, intakes of carbohydrate and fats are reduced daily. So secondly, routine exercise programs, get the person to exercise more, okay, per day. And then if all else fails, there's the gastric bypass surgery that can be carried out to reduce the weight of the obese person. So specialist doctors may suggest surgical procedures to reduce body weight, such as the gastric bypass. Now, what is the definition of gastric bypass? Gastric bypass involves a reduction of the stomach size using surgery to reduce obesity or to reduce the body weight. So, summary of procedure. Now, this is just a summary, okay? We'll discuss more of it in the next slide. First, the surgeon creates a small stomach pouch or gastric sac. The textbook used the word gastric sac at the top of the stomach. That means the surgeon divides the stomach into two parts. The gastric sac, and then the bigger stomach is still there below the gastric sac. So he does it by stapling off a portion of the stomach here, right? Now, then the upper end of the jejunum. Now this jejunum here, the yellow one, was initially attached, the top part was initially attached to the duodenum. Now it is cut and then it is connected to the new stomach pouch directly. So in this way, the food will bypass the stomach and the duodenum. Okay? The rest of the stomach, there's still a small part of the stomach that will receive the food. So the bigger portion of the stomach is bypassed together with the duodenum. In this way, it will reduce the amount of food intake because the person will be eating less. He will feel full faster after just taking a little bit of food, as all the food will go into the gastric sac and then to the duodenum directly. So this will lead to weight loss. So here we discuss the process of the gastric bypass using these pictures and in more detail here. All right, the explanation is in more detail. This is a picture of the digestive tract. We have the esophagus here, stomach, then duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestine, and the jejunum, which is the second part of the small intestine. All right. So in the gastric bypass surgery, the surgeon will first staple off a portion of the stomach or divide the stomach to create a small gastric sac or stomach pouch. And then there's a bigger portion of the stomach, okay, right below the gastric sac. So the stomach is divided into two parts. Next, the gastric sac or stomach pouch is then directly connected to the jejunum. So this yellow part here, the jejunum, is cut at this end here. And then the top end of the jejunum is connected directly to the gastric sac or stomach pouch. Okay, so that the food bypasses a large part of this stomach and the duodenum. And then the smaller gastric sac will also reduce the amount of food eaten, as the person will feel full very quickly after eating a little bit of food. And then the bypass duodenum and because there's a bypass stomach, it will reduce the amount of digestion of food, and the bypass duodenum will also reduce the amount of food digested and absorbed also. Okay, and this will cause weight loss. So there are three ways to lose weight here. First of all, smaller stomach, so less intake of food. Secondly, bypass stomach and duodenum means that there's less digestion of food, less absorption of food. Okay, so this will lead to weight loss. Now, next, there's one more point. The duodenum that was cut has to be connected somewhere. So it's reconnected to the duodenum, but at the lower part of the duodenum. So this will allow the enzymes to be channeled from the stomach, the gastric juices from the stomach, and the pancreatic juice from the duodenum, with the enzymes lipase, amylase, trypsin, can still be channeled into the jejunum to digest the food. Right, so you may be asked in the essay question to explain the steps and outcome of the gastric bypass. 8 marks. So here you have to elaborate a bit more. Okay, now let's look at the answer. Number 1. So the first step is to divide the stomach. So division of stomach into two parts. So the stomach is divided into two parts by stapling it to form a small gastric sac at the top, or a stomach pouch. Okay, textbook use the term gastric sac. All right. So, and also to form a larger lower stomach section, which will be bypassed. Now, second step is to now connect the duodenum to the small stomach pouch here to form a new pathway for food. So first the jejunum was connected to the duodenum. Now the jejunum is connected to the stomach pouch. The top part is connected to the stomach pouch. So jejunum is cut and connected to the small stomach pouch. And the jejunum will carry the food from the pouch here to the intestines, okay, to the jejunum itself and to the lower intestines, bypassing the larger stomach section here and the duodenum, okay, as seen the red arrows here. Now, third step, the duodenum has been cut. Okay, so now you have to reconnect the duodenum to the jejunum, but at the lower part of the jejunum. Duodenum is reconnected further down to the jejunum to allow the digestive enzymes from the stomach and the duodenum to flow into the jejunum and to digest the food in the jejunum and lower intestine. So these juices are not wasted. Okay, they are passed down. This is a blue arrow. Okay, the juices will be used to digest food in the jejunum. So these are the 3 steps. Okay, now next, what is the final outcome? 2 marks. Now the food will bypass the bigger stomach section and the duodenum. Okay, then there's less food intake in the and digestion in the smaller stomach pouch because of the size of the pouch or the gastric sac, which is smaller. So less nutrients will be digested and less nutrients will be absorbed, so that there's weight loss. Okay, so the duodenum is bypassed, so there's less digestion and also less absorption. Now, what are the advantages of gastric bypass surgery? So 3 advantages here. There will be significant weight loss for the person and reduction in obesity, as in here, due to reduced intake, digestion, and absorption of food, right? And secondly, this will help to treat and reduce diabetes mellitus and hypertension, because obese patients run a higher risk of developing diabetes mellitus and hypertension, meaning high blood pressure, okay, and cardiovascular diseases too may occur. So because the patient has slimmed down, this will reduce the severity of diabetes mellitus and hypertension, and as it lowers the blood sugar levels and reduces the body fat content, okay, due to the reduced intake of carbohydrates and fats. Now, C, the new stomach pouch or gastric sac in the body is smaller than the original stomach. This will lead to reduced appetite after because and less hunger and more satiety or the feeling of fullness, especially after just taking a small meal, right? There will be no more appetite to eat a lot of food, and the feeling of fullness is there, okay, due to the small size of the uh, gastric sac or stomach pouch. Now, disadvantages. The gastric bypass surgery has short-term side effects, such as acid reflux, where the gastric acid will flow upwards into the esophagus from the stomach, nausea, vomiting, expanded esophagus, certain food prohibitions, meaning the patient cannot eat certain foods, and risk of infection. Long-term side effects are dizziness, low blood sugar levels, malnutrition, because there will be less food intake already, so it may cause lack of nutrients, okay, in the body, and then stomach ulcer and defecation problems. Right, let's go on to health issues related to defecation. So one of the health issues related to defecation or the passing out of the feces is constipation, and then also hemorrhoids and colon cancer and rectal cancer, which are very serious. Okay, so health issues related to defecation. Now, one of the classes of food that's important to help a person defecate is fiber. So we're going to discuss the role of fiber too, as is found in so many types of foods. Let's discuss the second topic, which is health issues related to defecation. So the food class that is most important in the defecation process is fiber. Now, defecation means the act of passing the feces out of the body or passing the stools out of the body. And the D here means to remove. Remove the feces or the stools. Please don't use the word shit or poop for the feces. Okay, just call it feces. FAECES. So fiber that is found in fruits, vegetables, and in whole grains like oats, walnuts, and other nuts, and also beans and peas such as chickpeas. All these contain a lot of fiber. So the fiber that is eaten can help to promote defecation. So the importance of fiber is that the intake of a diet high in fiber, such as fruits and vegetables, can smoothen and regulate bowel movements. Bowel movements here means the act of defecation, where the bowel are the intestines. So when we say someone moves his bowels, it means that he is carrying out the act of defecation, or in Malay is buang air besar, Chinese is 大便, right? So fiber can help to promote the defecation process. This can then in turn help to prevent health problems, okay, such as constipation, hemorrhoids, colon cancer, and rectal cancer. So constipation means difficulty in defecating or passing out the stools. And another term in Malay is called sembilit. In Chinese is 便秘. Now, if constipation gets worse and worse, it can lead to hemorrhoids, the formation of hemorrhoids, or the development of hemorrhoids, which we'll discuss afterwards. It means swollen veins in the anus and rectum. And then more serious problems can occur after that, which is colon cancer and rectal cancer. So these problems can be prevented by a diet high in the fiber intake. So 4 general functions of fiber. Firstly, fiber stimulates peristalsis in the intestines, and this will promote defecation. Peristalsis means the contraction and relaxation of the smooth muscles in the walls of the intestines, all right, that can promote bowel movement and then cause defecation to occur. B, it absorbs and expels toxic substances. We'll discuss more of these functions in the next slide. Now, thirdly, it helps to regulate and slow down absorption of glucose for diabetes mellitus patients. So it forms a layer, soluble fiber. There are 2 types of fiber, soluble and insoluble fiber. The soluble fiber will form a gel-like substance that lines the wall of the intestine, the inner wall of the intestine, and this can slow down the absorption of glucose into the bloodstream in the intestines. Now, D, it increases the population of beneficial bacteria or good bacteria in the large intestines, all right, because it is the food for the beneficial bacteria. Now, number 5, apart from fiber, the intake of a large amount of water will ensure that feces stay soft and can move easily along the large intestine to aid defecation. Okay, so here we see the sources of fiber in the pictures here. Fruits, vegetables. Apart from that, whole grains such as oats, nuts such as walnuts and almonds. Okay, and then chickpeas such as beans, and nuts such as, here in this case is a pea, chickpeas and nuts. They all provide fiber in the diet. Right, so here we have again the functions of fiber with more elaboration, especially for essay questions that ask you the functions of fiber or importance of fiber or role of fiber in more detail, right? So we'll give an explanation for each function. Now, number 1, fiber adds bulk to stools and softens it, all right? So there are 2 types of fiber. The insoluble fiber adds the bulk to the stools, okay? And the soluble fiber, like from oats and so forth, they soften the stool because they absorb water. So when fiber adds bulk to the stools, it adds weight to the stools, then it will stimulate peristalsis. Okay, when it presses down on the intestines, it will stimulate peristalsis and increase the bowel movement, promote bowel movement. Okay, so peristalsis means the series of contractions and relaxations of the smooth muscles along the alimentary canal, as seen here. Okay, first the muscles at the top here contract and the muscles below relax. So the food will be pushed down a little bit, and then the next set of muscles below the first set will contract. So there's a series of contractions, and then the muscles here relax. So the food will be pushed down further and so forth. So this is peristalsis. It's stimulated by fiber when there is bulk to the stools. Number two, the second function of fiber is that beneficial bacterial population is increased by the high fiber intake. So why so? Because the fiber will feed the beneficial bacteria or good bacteria in the large intestine. So here we see the large intestine, all right? In it, the large intestine houses a lot of beneficial bacteria in a healthy person. Now, one type of beneficial bacteria is rod-shaped like this. It's called Lactobacillus species. Another type is like Y-shaped a bit. It's called Bifidobacterium. Okay, these two are the beneficial or good bacteria in the large intestine, and we need to ensure that there is a lot of these bacteria in the intestines for good health. It helps to support the immune system, and also beneficial bacteria produces vitamin B12 and K for the body. Number three, fiber helps to regulate the absorption of glucose by slowing down the absorption of glucose into the blood. Right? So how does it do it? The soluble fiber, okay, now you can see this picture here. Soluble fiber forms a gel-like substance in the digestive tract. This is the cross-section of the digestive tract. The yellow part, okay, represents the fiber, which forms a gel-like substance, like a jelly-like substance in the digestive tract. So the glucose cannot be easily and directly absorbed into the blood. All right, it has to pass through this gel-like layer. So this will slow down the absorption of glucose or sugar into the bloodstream to prevent sudden increase in the blood glucose levels. So it's very good for diabetic mellitus patients. So for diabetic mellitus patients, brown rice with more fiber is better for consumption than white rice. Okay, you may be asked this question in the exam. Why is it that for diabetic patients, diabetic mellitus patients, they are asked, or doctors will recommend the consumption of brown rice and also whole wheat bread in place of the refined, okay, products like white rice and white bread? The reason is because these brown rice and whole wheat bread contain more fiber, okay, and this fiber will slow down the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream to prevent sudden increase in blood glucose levels. Now, another function of fiber is that it absorbs and expels toxic substances, also through the same method or action, because it forms a gel-like substance on the wall of the intestines, okay, that helps to absorb the toxic substances from food, okay. And then when the fiber, because it's not digested, is passed out, then the toxic substances will also be expelled. Now, fiber reduces cholesterol levels in the blood. How does it do it? For example, if you eat a cup of oats in the morning, the oats will form the soluble fiber, which is the gel-like substance. Again, the same method. This gel-like substance will absorb the cholesterol, so that it's not so much of it will be absorbed into the bloodstream. So let's discuss hemorrhoids. So hemorrhoids, or piles, or boisier in Malay, or zhichuang in Chinese, are swollen veins in the anus and lower rectum, and they are similar to varicose veins in the legs. Internal hemorrhoids can develop in the lower rectum. Okay, let's look at this picture. So this is a section through the back part at the anus here, and this is the rectum. Okay, this part here. So here you can see the blue structures. These are the veins. Now, if a person always has constipation and strains himself, then these veins can become swollen, all right, and then they can bulge out like that. So if the hemorrhoids, which are swollen veins, happens in the rectum, then it causes the internal hemorrhoids. And if it bulges out at the bottom of the anus, there is external hemorrhoids. Okay, so what are the causes of hemorrhoids? Constipation, constantly being unable to defecate, then the person will strain his intestines and the anus here, and then it will cause the veins to become swollen, and the veins can even burst and bleed, right? So it can be painful, and there may be blood passed out with the stools. Now, excessive straining when passing stools and prolonged sitting on the toilet. Some people like to sit on the toilet for half an hour or so reading something. That is also one of the causes of hemorrhoids. So prevention of hemorrhoids is, of course, to prevent constipation, first of all, by eating a high fiber diet to stimulate peristalsis and prevent constipation, so that the stools are always soft and easy to pass out, right? Drink plenty of foods to soften the fluids like water. Drink plenty of fluids like water to soften the stools. And avoid prolonged sitting or straining during bowel movements in the toilet to reduce pressure on the veins. Now, memory tip for the functions of fiber, as in my shorts video. F stands for fruits and vegetables, which are the sources of fiber. I stands for increases bowel movement, stimulates peristalsis in the intestines, right? So this will help in the defecation process. B is for beneficial bacteria. It is increased by fiber intake because fiber is the food for the beneficial bacteria in the intestines. R is for regulate. Fiber regulates absorption of glucose because it forms a gel-like substance on the surface of the intestines, so it slows down the absorption of glucose. And this is very important for diabetes mellitus patients to help control their blood glucose level so that it doesn't increase suddenly. Now, fiber expels, E is for expel, toxic substances by absorbing them first. So add some fiber to your diet every day, right? Here are some interesting facts about fiber, which you can apply to your everyday life. What are some high fiber foods that we can consider to eat every day? So they can be divided into different categories. Fruits such as oranges, apples, bananas, avocados. Vegetables such as broccoli, carrots, leafy greens. Grains such as oats. These are whole grains, oats, quinoa, barley, whole wheat bread, which is brownish in color, right? The refined ones are usually white, but the whole grain products are usually brownish, a bit brownish in color. Legumes such as beans, peas, lentils like dal, DHALL, and chickpeas. Nuts and seeds such as almonds, sunflower seeds, walnuts, chia seeds, pumpkin seeds. Now, how much fiber should a person eat per day? Depends on the gender and also the age. For those aged 18 years and above, all right, 18 to 50 years, a man will need about 30 to 38 grams of fiber per day, and a woman about 21 to 25 grams of fiber per day. This is just an estimate, right? So for a teenager around 17 years old, you may be quite close to these values. Now, here are some examples of how we can add fiber to our diet. For breakfast, you can take oatmeal with blueberries or some other fruits like bananas, and then seeds like chia seeds or walnuts, pumpkin seeds, and so forth. For lunch, brown rice. Now, brown rice usually is better to soak 30 minutes first before cooking to get rid of impurities and some tiny traces of arsenic, which rice tends to absorb, okay, from when it is planted. So, brown rice with steamed fish, stir-fried broccoli, bell peppers, and lentil soup. So the fiber will come from the brown rice, broccoli, bell peppers, and lentil, okay, which is dal. Now dinner, 1 serving of quinoa salad with spinach, cherry tomatoes, avocado slices. These are all foods with fiber, carrots. And for carbohydrates, we can either have quinoa or whole wheat bread toast. Okay, so altogether, if you add up the amount of fiber, 10 grams, 15, and 15, you get 40 grams of fiber, which is more than what is stated here. So it'll be good. Now you can calculate your own fiber intake. For example, if I eat an avocado every day, I'm actually getting about 10 grams of fiber from a relatively large avocado, maybe medium size or more. Okay, and then 8 tablespoons of oats for breakfast is equivalent to 4 grams of fiber. 1 medium orange or 1 medium banana is 3 grams of fiber. 1 serving broccoli, which is the size of a fist, is 4 grams fiber. So you can track your fiber intake per day and see whether it fulfills the requirement of fiber per day. Okay. Here are some samples of essay or structured questions that can be asked in the exam. So usually they give you a situation and then you have to answer, all right, based on the situation given. So a friend of yours hates eating fibrous fruits and frequently suffers from constipation. So the fibrous fruits are those like fruits and vegetables, all right? Now, how would you explain to him the importance of fiber for health? So this is the important point. Importance of fiber for health and relate it back to constipation, right? So 8 marks. Now, when you see the word explain, remember, you have to give the point plus the explanation. For example, you state the importance of function of fiber and then give an explanation. That is the answering tip. Okay? So don't just give the function and then list down the functions. That will not get you 8 marks, right? So, okay, as an example, I will explain to him as follows. So give the function first. A high fiber diet facilitates or promotes the movement of feces in the large intestine, 1 mark, and prevents constipation, colon cancer, and hemorrhoids, another mark. Okay, so relate back to the word constipation, which means the difficulty in defecation, in passing stools. Now, explanation 1. So relate it back to the function. This is the extra explanation or elaboration. This point is important. Now, the reason why fiber can promote the movement of feces is that it adds bulk to the stools. Fiber adds bulk and weight to the stools, so it will stimulate peristalsis. And then soluble fiber. Now, insoluble fiber adds bulk to the stools. Soluble fiber softens it by absorbing water, okay? Because it's like a gel-like substance, it absorbs water. So this will stimulate peristalsis because of the bulk in the stools. And then it promotes bowel movement, smooth bowel movement for regular defecation. So the person will not suffer from constipation anymore, okay, if he takes fiber. Now, other importance or functions of fiber can also be mentioned because we are asked to explain the importance of fiber for health. So function number 2, fiber regulates glucose absorption, especially in diabetic patients. Explanation number 2, E2, soluble fiber forms a gel in the intestines that slows down the absorption of sugar into the blood to prevent sudden increase in blood glucose levels. Okay, function number 3, fiber increases the beneficial bacterial population in the large intestine. Explanation number 3, by being food source for good bacteria or beneficial bacteria. Function number 4, fiber lowers cholesterol levels in the blood. Explanation number 4, by binding to cholesterol in the intestines and expelling it. Function number 5, fiber absorbs toxic substances. And explanation number 5, expels them from the body during defecation. Okay, so for each point or each function, you can get certain marks. More marks for function A, because we want to relate it back to constipation. How to relieve the person, help the person get relief from constipation. Okay, so 2 marks for function number 2, 3, and function B, C, D, and E. Now, second question, what is gastric bypass? Explain briefly 3 steps in gastric bypass surgery. You can try this question first, and then we'll discuss the answer afterwards. Okay, so the first point is state the definition for gastric bypass. Gastric bypass involves reduction of the stomach size using surgery to reduce or to treat obesity. Okay, to reduce obesity. So there are 3 steps, basic steps. The first step is the stomach reduction. The surgeon creates a small gastric sac or pouch from the upper part of the stomach, thus reducing its size in order to reduce the intake of food, because the size of the stomach will be reduced. So the person will only be able to take in a small amount of food. Now, bypassing the stomach, the jejunum is cut and connected directly to the new gastric sac as seen here. Okay, now this is the gastric pouch or gastric sac or stomach pouch. Okay, so now the jejunum is connected directly to the new gastric sac. So food will bypass most of the stomach here and the duodenum, reducing the nutrient digestion and absorption of food. Thirdly, channeling the enzymes into the duodenum. So the duodenum now is reconnected to the jejunum to allow digestive enzymes from the stomach, like the gastric juices, and from the duodenum, like the pancreatic juice, to be channeled to the jejunum, okay, to digest food in the jejunum. Question 2b. Explain 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages of gastric bypass surgery. 8 marks. So again, the tip here is that you have to explain, meaning that you have to have the E point, the explanation or elaboration point. So state first the advantage and then elaborate on it. 1 mark for advantage, 1 mark for the explanation. Similarly, 1 mark for disadvantage and 1 mark for the explanation. So 2 advantages of gastric bypass surgery are as follows. A1, there is significant weight loss and reduction in obesity. E1, elaboration A1, due to reduced intake, digestion, and absorption of food. Next, A2 or advantage 2, this helps to treat and reduce diabetes mellitus and hypertension. E2, as it lowers blood sugar levels. Okay, the surgery will help to lower blood sugar levels and reduces fat content, body fat content, due to smaller or less intake of food. Okay, so less carbohydrates are eaten and less fat is eaten. So this will lower the blood sugar levels, especially the less intake of carbohydrates, right? Now, A3, the new stomach pouch or gastric sac is smaller than the original stomach. E3, leading to reduced appetite, less hunger, and more satiety or more of the feeling of fullness, just by after taking a small amount of food. Now, what are the disadvantages? So, 2 disadvantages of gastric bypass surgery are as follows. Now, you can talk about the short-term effects or the long-term effects. Let's start with the short-term effects. D1, disadvantage 1, acid reflux, nausea, vomiting, or dilated esophagus. E1, due to the smaller stomach size. Okay, so there'll be a feeling of fullness and maybe nausea even after taking a little bit of food, right? And some food may be in the esophagus and cause it to be dilated. Now, number 2, disadvantage 2, there's a risk of infection. Then E2, due to surgery on the stomach and intestines, because the intestines have to be cut, okay, and the stomach has to be reduced in size, right? So there may be risk of bacterial infection, as an example. Now, longer term side effects include, this is the 3rd disadvantage, dizziness, low blood sugar levels, and malnutrition. Why? E3, due to reduced intake of carbohydrates and reduced absorption of nutrients. Because the person will be eating less food, so he may suffer from reduced intake of carbohydrates and vitamins and minerals. Okay, that can lead to low blood sugar levels and malnutrition where he lacks certain nutrients. Right, that's all for this lesson. I hope that you have benefited from it. Please do share, like, and subscribe, and comment below also. And all the best to you till we meet again. So in the next video, we'll discuss the different problems that arise from poor eating habits, okay, such as anorexia nervosa, bulimia, and so forth.